Welcome to Homeschooling for Spirituality. The Flow is a delightful mix of insight, divine inspiration, and humor, where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. Follow the flow of enlightenment and explore everything spiritual through the deepest self-inquiry, as student Lisa Berry asks Master Spiritual Teacher G.P. Walsh the kinds of questions you would ask an elder, a wise man, or a sage, and receive direct, simple, comprehensive, and deeply human lessons and teachings. From transcending the experience of separation, releasing old conditioned patterns and wounds, and alleviating suffering, to demystifying esoteric practices and revealing one's true purpose and innate freedom. Welcome to the flow of enlightenment. Transformation is all there is. Welcome, everyone, to the flow of enlightenment. Hello, GP.
Hey, Lisa.
So interesting as we always get just a moment to chit-chat before the shows, and you said something about a common understanding. Whether we're lacking one or we have one, that word, a common understanding, really, stuck out to me, because today we're talking about chakras, and you literally have put an entire new spin on chakras. But I think that's where I would love to start this show today, because do we have a common understanding of what chakras are? And now with a new one, maybe, and then we're going to dive into that. But if you could start us off, what is our common understanding about chakras?
The common understanding is that there are these swirling vortexes of light, invisible, which is confusing because if it's invisible, how do you know it's a swirling vortex of light? But located in the body, in different places in the body, and that's the common understanding of it. But now you have to remember that common understanding is the common understanding in the West that was adopted from an understanding, a different kind of understanding that was there originally in the East. So when you talk about a common understanding, it's not necessarily true. It's just common, right?
Yes.
All cultures are belief systems. And what makes a culture is that it's a beliefs that a bunch of people believe. We all believe it together. And that's why it can be self-reinforcing, and you can have insiders and outsiders and that sort of thing. It's believed to be true, right? And so people cling to it. They fight for it. They defend it. We interlace our sense of identity with our place within the culture, and it is just a big state of mind. It's a big belief system, and cultural belief systems aren't really stable because they're not really based on the truth. They're just a common belief. But it isn't even understanding. It's a common belief.
A belief. Yes, and I love what we had kind of said. You had mentioned that chakras aren't literal; they are metaphorical. And when I hear my experience with chakras and people, and by the way, it's everybody say chakra and chakra. Even the way we say it, it's different.
Yes, that's right.
But that they are related to perhaps certain emotions or organs, like, oh, my throat is tight today. That's my throat chakra closing up. I'm not able to express myself, and it's
right.
I'm actually going to say, is that true or false? Is that really, does it connect with a color and an organ and an emotion?
Well, if we believe it does, then it does, right? My approach to everything is to take it out of the realm of the literal, to try to find whatever the underlying insight was that gave birth to a representation of it. The representation of it is always cultural, right? It's the costume truth happens to be wearing at any given time. Right? So an essential idea, an essential perception of a truth, right, can manifest itself in all sorts of different forms, and the form it manifests itself in will depend on the culture. The mistake we human beings make is that we mistake the costume that it's wearing for the truth of it. And therefore, when it begins to shift and take on a new costume, we start to fight over it. Right? So, no, this is the truth. No, this is the truth. When in fact, it's just you're looking at two sides of the same thing and arguing over what it is. But we want to hold on to it because our cultural belief system is what kind of, it brings order to society and all that. But eventually, all cultures collapse, right? But the underlying truths never do, right? So when I look at something at the chakras, I look at, well, what's the point of it, right? Okay, so I can go and I can talk about the colors and the spinning lights, and I can use all the Sanskrit names, and, you know, that might get me a date at a party, right? Oh, he knows so much, right? you're hot, right? But what's the truth? What are they representing? Because if that's all there is, well, who cares, right? All right, so I put on blue underwear and red glasses, and I'm good, right? But do they represent? Is there actually something of value there that transcends the form that it happens to be taking? And that's where I start looking for the metaphors in it. I mean, that was my earliest experience after I had an awakening, that because all I knew was the Bible, because that's what I was brought up on. But I started seeing it symbolically. I started looking at the names of places and the names of people in the story, and what the story was pointing at, to see it as a metaphor or a mythology rather than a literal historical event. As a literal historical event, it has almost no value to us. It's, that's interesting, that happened 2,000 years ago. But if it's representing something else, what it's representing is still as fresh and as vital now as it was then. But it was just in a different costume back then. And if we try to keep the costume, Joseph Campbell used to refer to it as petrifax. When you take...
yes.
It was a petrified truth, right?
Yes.
And when it gets frozen like that, it's absolutely destructive.
When you're saying that, so my little brain is going, okay, wait a second. Yes, you're right. The fun Sanskrit names and the colors, and it makes it like a costume. I love that you're using that term because it's attractive, it's fun, it's interesting. But if we stop there, you're right. There's the date. Then now what? Where's the substance to this? And this is where when I first started hearing what you had to share about this, and you put archetypes to it.
Yes.
It's a different level of understanding came, and it wasn't just an archetype of the chakras. I want the listeners to really hear this. This is an archetype of the consciousness around. No, I don't know what to say now. the thing. What's the thing? Can you give me a word here? What is the? It's the archetype of the consciousness of the belief or the truth.
Well, an archetype is a representation of a truth. It's a fact.
Yes.
It's a reality that in and of itself is not something tangible that you can put your hands on, right? Like if somebody does a picture to represent, love, right? It's not love, but it's love reflected in a particular image. So you can only get to the essence of something through the symbology. If you get lost in the symbology and think that's the thing, right?
Yes.
You've lost the essence. Even the traditional chakra model, you'll see the pretty girl in the lotus position with the little lights going up and down her body. Rarely do you see it in its original form, which is it's in the Kundalini tradition, and it has two snakes curling around, going up where each one of the chakras are. And traditionally, in the East anyway, not here in the West, the snake has always been is a scary thing, nasty. It's the snake in the Garden of Eden and that sort of thing. But in these other cultures, it represented immortality because the snake sheds its skin, and so it represented transformation.
Yes.
And they were arranged in this line not because they were actually this physical thing in your body, but they were symbolizing the elevation of consciousness from the animal or instinctual to the transcendent and spiritual. And it represented from the base, right, just the most base instinct, like safety, moving up, and the intersection was the heart. where it made this transformation from the instinctual to the transcendent, and in the middle was the heart, which represented the human. So it's a representation of spiritual growth, right? And it really didn't care about the little lights and things like that. They represented aspects of ourselves, aspects of our humanness. So I arranged them in a circle to show a different kind of relationship, because we've gotten locked in this idea of the lower and the higher, right?
Yes.
As if red light was a worse light than, ultraviolet. Right? They're both light. But red, red, no, we don't like that, as I sit here in my red car, right?
You're just sitting in your root chakra.
I'm just sitting here in my root chakra. Yeah. Grumble, grumble.
Now, the interesting thing about that switch around right now, and I just want to share with the listeners, and guys, we're going to be offering, of course, a free intro course, just so you can grasp this even a little deeper and go further into it. But the really big thing I want to share with listeners, and I had to grasp myself, was I wasn't trading in circles and lights of chakras in a line to GP's circle of archetypes and personalities. Like, it wasn't just switching, trading them in. It literally is a different understanding. And we're going to be going through that through this show. We're going to do an intro to the intro. Because I like that you said that they're aspects. So even though you do have, archetypes in these names, which we're going to go through, they are just aspects. And I love that you said something isn't it itself. Like, love isn't just love, it's love reflected. So these are aspects that are reflected. And this helps people figure out, why are they reflecting certain behaviors and attitudes and thoughts the way they are? And these archetypes I found really helpful to kind of like solve mysteries of my life. So thanks, GP.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here, everybody.
So let's start. I love that right now. They're in a circle. So they're in a circle because they're not showing a higher value from one than another. One's not more important or a thing. They're all necessary.
Yes.
And do you still start by talking about, let's call it the root chakra, the base chakra first? Is that still what we need to learn about first?
No, I don't. I used to, because the bulk of our human problems revolve around what they refer to as the first three chakras. And let me just give a quick example of what that is. For me, I call the first chakra the tribe. Because it's the functioning of life and the functioning of consciousness that is concerned simply with survival. It's the basic survival mechanism that every critter on the planet has in common. Now, the thing about them, when you turn them into archetypes like that, you have to recognize that they're primarily single function. The only thing the tribe is interested in is survival. Period. It doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care if you're having fun. Those are irrelevant, right? So don't confuse those. There's an aspect of you that is only concerned about your safety, and it does not care about anything else. Right? Now, the second chakra I named the nymph, because it's only concerned with fun, with this moment, right? With pleasure, with self-enjoyment. Right? Now, it's obvious that those two energies are in direct conflict with themselves.
Absolutely.
It's the aspect of me that just wants, it's the little kid reaching for the shiny object, and mom slaps her hand. Right? A direct conflict between these, and they're both real, right? You can't stop the child from reaching for the shiny object. And so it represents self-expression, curiosity, exploration, fun, enjoyment, right? And the other side represents maintaining safety, keeping yourself secure, and you can see how these would be in conflict with one another. As a matter of fact, it is the conflict between these two that's gone unresolved in almost everybody that is the cause of all human problems. It is a conflict between safety and freedom. Well, I invite anybody to look at their life Look back on your life. Look at every important decision you had to make. And when it was a difficult decision to make, it was always a conflict between safety and freedom. You wanted to do it because it looked great, it was wonderful, but something kept stopping you. Will it be okay? Is it too much risk? Will I lose too much money? Right? Always. Now, if safety wasn't there, you'd just do it.
Yeah.
Right? And if all there was safety, you wouldn't even consider it. So this is the central conflict that has gone unreconciled.
And one's not better than the other. Like, it's not like, oh, thank gosh I don't have to worry about safety anymore or fun anymore. Like, we don't abandon one, like going, you know what, I'm just not going to worry about fun anymore, then I'll always be safe. Or is that what is causing our conflict? Because we have made ourselves think we have to choose one over the other.
That's exactly what we attempt to do. Safety will try to suppress, the tribe will try to suppress the nymph, and the nymph will try to undermine or subvert the tribe. It's as simple as that. We don't reconcile them. We try to make one dominant.
Right.
And you can't get rid of either of them. They're both innate. It's like trying to stop your hair from growing. Good luck.
That was funny. I love the analogies that come up, and right because we're just now really, this is getting to some good stuff. It's always good, but I know we're going to get into commercials, and I don't want to do that, but we have to. And when we come back, to reconcile or to dominate, how to support our chakras and archetypes in this journey on the flow of enlightenment when we come back with GP Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes. Co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
I'm Fidel Mshombo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
All right, I bet you guys could barely wait till we came back so we could continue this. The spinning of the upside down chakras. You know, just even these two alone, just the two, I am going to bring this question up. We say the first, we'll call it the first that we're talking about, the tribe and the nymph, root and sacral. Now, I'm feeling like right now, I'm complete. This explains everything in my life, and that my question around that is do we spend most of our lives, like the percentage every day, in the lower three? I don't say lower, sorry, the first three. Because I'm like, that's my life.
It's okay. Yes, we do. Until consciousness begins to dawn, until there is some kind of an awakening, we spend our life there. That is what I call the robot. That's the unconscious. That's the instinctual. There's no capacity to discern. There's no choice there. There's no free will. Because there's nobody there.
Right. Because it's a robot, right? Oh my God, that's funny.
It's a robot. It is just purely functioning. There's no consciousness there. Consciousness doesn't emerge until you hit the heart, which I call the peacemaker.
Oh, wait, don't go in the peacemaker yet. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I do believe, like a lot of people are saying, I've had an awakening, or this is the moment this happened. And is it that, like a lightning bolt strikes us, that we go, oh my gosh, I am no longer just living in a robot body life, and I have other decisions to make other than, am I safe or am I having fun and free?
Well, it depends on you have to look at it from the point of view what's dominating your life. But because you're a human being, all of the energy of the 7 chakras or the 7 archetypes are available to you. And the 6th chakra, which I call the visionary, is that which is a visionary. I mean, it has dreams, ambitions, aspirations for life that go beyond merely taking care of my physical needs and safety and the like. For most, it's very, very undeveloped. And so, but you can't help it, because consciousness is your nature. And in the human being, you've been born a human being because there's a certain amount of awakening, self-awareness that is there innately in every single human being. But it is misunderstood, and it is overwhelmed by the unreconciled conflicts going on in what are called the lower chakras. So I have a vision of something I'd like to see, but I have no capacity or power to bring it to pass because of all the energy is being absorbed in trying to maintain the truce between the tribe and the nymph enough that you function. If you can't maintain that truce, that's really where you do go mad. That's schizophrenia. That is mental illness.
Okay, this is actually big, because a lot of people right now are so stuck, I don't know, captured, imprisoned in that, like what you're saying, the conflict of safety and freedom right now in our world and just life. And if we did get a vision and we suddenly had this hope and dream and aspiration, do we just shut it off and stop it and say, no, I've got to focus on being safe? That's what you're saying, is that where that madness might come from?
It's happening, but we're not conscious of that happening, right? Right now, the people who are listening, just picture something in your mind that you really, really want but don't have. Maybe some kind of dream you've wanted. And notice, you may have given up on it. You may have belittled it. You may have diminished it. You may have scaled it back to a point where you think it's okay, I might be able to get it. But really try to envision it in its fullness, right? Because we were all filled with these ideals when we were young. Everybody still has it. Everybody's got a visionary, right? Yeah. And then just notice when you hold that vision, feel the resistance in your body. Now, why in the world would you be resisting the very thing you want that would actually, be good for you and the world? Why would there be any resistance to that? We don't question that. We think, I got to get rid of this resistance. We never go, wait a minute, why is this even here?
Right.
Right? Because the tribe is dominant and does not want anything to change. Remember, it doesn't care about vision.
Right. Yes, that's right. The tribe
Matter
doesn't
of fact,
care
a
about
vision is a threat.
Yes, and they call them crazy. Like, there's that crazy man. You're rocking around with visions, talking to people in their heads. Right.
Yes. That's exactly the case.
Oh my goodness! See, there's just already it's so helpful already. So we've got the tribe, survival. We've got the nymph, which is freedom and fun and enjoyment. Then we move into I don't even think we hit the third.
No, we didn't.
We have not. Didn't. Okay, so we're still lower 3. Well, yeah, lower 3.
Yeah. Well, the tribe and the nymph are in a constant battle, and how we work out that battle. In such a way that it keeps us from going nuts, is the third chakra. How do you keep a truce between two equally powerful forces that are completely at odds with one another? Something has to step in to mitigate this, or you literally will go mad. And I have worked with people who are, Section 8, completely dysfunctional. The state visits them twice a day to give them their meds. And that's their entire life, because nothing has come along to stabilize this. And so it's a constant going back and forth. Well, the thing that emerges to do that is the third chakra, which I call the storyteller. And the modern name for the storyteller is the ego. That's what the ego does. I become this. When I am this, then this is acceptable, this is not. This is what I'm allowed, this is what I'm not. The only way you can keep this in check is for it to become who you are. And while this solves the problem, brings some stability, gives you a functioning personhood in order to function in the world, it is also the number one obstacle to awakening.
Oh, dear.
But we have to go through it. Because if you don't, you end up nuts.
Okay, so I love that you just said it the way, and I'm sure, you know what, I've heard this a couple times now, and I still need to hear it over and over. Like, it's just helpful. This is school. We call this schooling. I think I forgot to do our intro, but here we are, guys. Right. but when you say that, I'm going through my brain going, yes, the storyteller, the ego, has in my life and everybody's life shown up to say, all right, you just had an experience and you need to be okay with it. So here's the story that you can go with. You feel safe telling other people of it. You can go to sleep at night. You can move on. However, what you're saying, to my understanding, how I'm interpreting, is that actually is going to prevent me from my awakening.
Yeah, because it's a story.
It's not the truth.
It's not the truth.
Oh,
right?
God, but we need to do it. Oh, gosh.
It was a strategy that arose in order to reconcile the conflict and make you functional. That way you would get from the environment what you need and be able to function with it, so as you're growing up, so you could present yourself to the world in such a way that the world would recognize you, accept you, and then you would get the stuff that you need in order to survive. And that sense of identity was a direct reflection of the tribe and the values of the tribe, reconciling then with what individuality was actually allowed to be there, and the culture at large, the religious culture, the belief system, and the like. So your identity, when we start out, is a complete and total fabrication. Useful, it's a strategy for survival, it's got to be there, but it's total fiction, which is why you need to transcend it eventually. That's why there is transcendence. That's what you're transcending.
Right. Isn't that funny that it's like you need training wheels, but you don't need them forever. You need them to get going, but you cannot continue. Well, I mean, you could, but well, then yes, you could.
You look kind of dorky.
Yes, but some people do stick around that. And there's no right or wrong. Do we all just go at our own pace, or is it no? That is kind of wrong. We really are trying to get there, and some of us just have the storyteller is too loud, too bold.
Yes, well, and it's just never questioned because the culture doesn't question it, right? If you go for a job interview, they look at your CV and they say, "Oh, you've done this, you've accomplished this. This is what you went to school here." Nobody stops and says, "Yeah, but who are you really?"
Right. Yeah.
You're not going to hear that on a job interview because it's all just the function of the culture, which includes the economics and all of that. There's no interest or need when you're simply within this realm of these three archetypes. There's no need for it, right?
Yeah.
It's just the only need is I want to function better, which is actually the visionary kind of intruding itself. But when there's no awareness of that, the functioning better then leads to self-help, personal development. I'm going to learn how to be a greater success, all within the rules defined by the storyteller.
Yes.
And the storyteller is you individually and the culture at large.
Okay, so when I love for it to, that is so helpful right there, because if you're listening and you're like, wait a second, I'm love self-help, self-development. This is what I'm doing. My desire is to function better. Then we are inviting you right now to question the storyteller. We have go and to say, maybe transcending is for me. and then I know, 'cause it's so interesting how each one, and I just want to confirm again that we've learned that, okay, it's around my belly button, that ego, that chakra, it's sitting there. Is that, if we believe it to be true, then there is that connection, or is there really truly not the connection that in that area of our body, that's the one going, oh, your ego needs to be checked?
I can use therapeutically.
Okay.
You can use it as a map, because while they're not physically present in the body, you do sense them in the body. So something with your ego would, in fact, you could feel it as a clenching in the solar plexus. And so, yes, it gets reflected there. It's kind of like the strings of a guitar, right?
Okay.
The strings of a guitar tuned, if something in the environment makes a sound that's pitched the same as that particular string, it will vibrate in sympathy.
Yes.
Even though it hasn't been plucked.
Right, correct.
It reflects the environment around it. And so because the tribe, the first chakra, is everything physical. It's not a red light in the body. It is the body.
That's right, yes.
But because it is one aspect of light, all the others are reflected there. Just like every single one of these, all of the others are reflected there. That's the chord of the guitar.
Yes. I remember when I first heard that, my mouth just dropped. I went, oh my gosh, that was the biggest aha moment. I was like, oh my gosh, the root chakra is not, the body is the root chakra, guys. When you're listening, like your body, that's you. You're running around in your little root chakra. And
that's right. Well, not only your body, but all bodies. Every physical object, the computer you're listening to this on, or the phone, the shoes you're wearing.
Yes.
It is simply the vibration of consciousness at that frequency. Simple as that. Just like red light is light vibrating at that frequency.
That's something that I am writing down. I love that. It's the vibration of consciousness at that particular frequency, and it will match, like what you said with the chord. Okay, I just really want listeners to get this.
And like light, all frequencies are vibrating simultaneously. It's only when you filter out some of them, you get to see one of them. But they're all going all the time.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I thought of something funny this morning. I was like, I'm going to do a live, like a video, and put on a different filter for each chakra when I do it. Because we're seeing it differently. But just the three alone, just understanding these archetypes. I'm going to ask you the personal question. Where did you sit with this and think, what is this relationship? Who is this? Or was it clear to you that it was the tribe, the nymph, and the ego?
Well, once I started seeing them, because I had no interest in it, right?
Right, chakras.
Zero interest in the chakras. I'm not interested in anything esoteric, right? Right. I'm interested in what's true, and what's practical, right? Mm-hmm. Remember, Buddha didn't go seeking enlightenment. He went seeking the cause and cure of suffering, right? Yes. And in fact, when people would engage him on questions and the like, if it didn't lead to the mitigation of suffering, he didn't even answer the question. Sometimes didn't even speak. People would get very frustrated. He wasn't the least bit interested in philosophy, and neither am I. Right? I'm only interested in what's true, and what's true reflecting itself in the life that has alleviated suffering. That's the sign for me. So, but when I saw it, and then I grasped quite intuitively what each one of these did and what they represented, of the seven of them, the kind of some archetypal names or metaphorical names just began to come to me, and I saw it as a map to teach people to how to come to reconcile their own lives, all the different aspects of their lives which were disjointed, which were in conflict with one another. And I saw clearly that the suffering was caused by these inner conflicts between the various aspects of ourselves fighting for dominance. Right?
Yes.
And that therefore the answer to suffering was the reconciliation.
Which actually, the reconciliation is a bigger word than that we're going to super dive into. But you do have this. This is a 90-minute. You've actually put together a lot of little videos, like 7 minutes, 8 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. It's beautiful little bite-sized pieces. And this is a free course, and I would love everybody to have this. And so let's invite everybody right now, if you would like to know more, because we still got another 20 minutes we're going to cover, and we're going to get in the rest of the chakras. But should we get them to email us, message us? Where should we get them to do this?
Actually, I got a link here somewhere. Let me find it while we're on break.
Okay. Yeah, so come on back after break. Guys, you're going to give you the link so that you can get the free. It's 90 minutes. It's a course. It runs through all the different archetypes of consciousness. It's incredible. Like, you could listen to it over and over. So come on back in just a bit on the Flow of Enlightenment.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
I love how we're brought in by that beautiful sound. We are here, everybody, with GP Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry. And every Tuesday when we show up here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I feel like we're just really grabbing onto something that people are just needing. They're wanting, but they're needing to hear. And sometimes we're shaking it up and using something that we all know. And sometimes we're speaking about stuff that is so brand new. It's not brand new because it's the truth, but it's a new way of doing things. And I want to highlight two words here, if everybody. What GP has introduced to me in my life, which I'm sharing with you guys, is non-duality and self-inquiry. So it's through self-inquiry that we're here, that we're doing this, and we're finding out the truth. And I'm going to have to ask you now how to bring in this non-duality thing here. I'm still learning. What does that mean, non-duality?
Well, it simply means not two, right? I mean, it derives from the Sanskrit word advaita, and in Sanskrit, the is always not, and advaita means two, which Our word divided is related to it. So it's undivided. It's the undivided truth. And by non-dual, what you're looking for is the very subtle relationship between the form and the formless, between the manifest and the unmanifest, between the essential and the appearance of the essential. We all sense there's an underlying unity to things. We feel it in terms of either feeling connected to others or seeking connection to others. The sense of unity. We seek it in our romantic relationships. That the oneness of heart and the oneness of the bodies. Right? It's reflected everywhere. Right? But we see the world around us, the world of appearances, as if it was this separate functioning thing, because the essence of it, from which the appearance derives, is actually invisible. You can't see it. Just like pure white light is invisible. You can't see it. You look up at the moon, at the sky at night, and there's the big full moon, and it's really beautiful and bright, right?
Yeah.
And you look around, and all around it is dark. There's no light around it. But that's not true. There's as much light around the moon. There's orders of magnitude more light around the moon than is being reflected by the moon, but it isn't being reflected. It's there, but it's not being reflected. It hasn't made manifest in form. If you look around, every single object you see does not exist independently. It is a reflection. The moon isn't generating any light. It doesn't have any.
Right. Yes.
It is reflecting the light of the sun. And the sun has always represented the self, the essence. Consciousness is represented as light, the light of being and that sort of thing. But the light in its wholeness cannot be perceived.
Right.
It has to be reflected. And when it's reflected, part of it gets reflected, part of it gets absorbed. And depending on what gets reflected and what gets absorbed, boom, an object appears.
Right.
So this is what the non-duality means. It is seeing the one in the many.
Okay. Yes.
The one, as the Sufis like to say, everywhere the eye lights, it sees the face of God.
Yes.
Which is so beautiful.
So beautiful. Yes, it is. I love that. See the one in many. That now that you've given the whole, there's a backstory because I can understand that even more deeply. And it does. This is a practice, and so I'm really happy that we continually, we're showing up every Tuesday, and there's so many other places that because it does take time. I've heard this, and like you said, it's not an understanding, it's a witnessing of, it's a feeling. So I just want to thank everybody for being here with us. And we do want to have you, there's a gift that GP we're offering because it's a mini course, just an introduction, to introduce you to this archetype of consciousness and using the chakras of that model. And did you get to find that link?
I did.
Okay.
It's really simple.
Okay.
It's gpwalsh.com/chakras.
Oh, perfect. All right.
Or chakras. or chakras, whatever you want. Yeah.
Like cucarachas.
That's right.
So we'll make sure that we put that in the link. But please, everybody, that would be just such. It's a gift. And then we can discuss it. You guys can ask questions, and we can. I just think it's just going to help everybody along the way. And in support of being able to show up everything, we do want to thank our sponsor, Suzanne.
Susan.
Yeah. Yes, we just love her.
Yeah.
And she's just, she is continuing to help others to have experiences so that they may, have the light shine upon something that's going to help them to just expand it and feel their own truth. And so Suzanne has created high-rise tourism. So it's high-rise tourism can help you live and embrace life to the fullest by constantly constructing personal high-rises within your spiritual, physical, and mental destinations. From cozy, quaint family vacations to nature weekend getaways to afternoon teas, high-rise tourism is a complementing partner in giving good directions to places where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. I wanted to say this about with high-rise tourism. It is more than wandering, that you're actually going places. And Suzanne just loves sharing with you. So you got to reach out to Suzanne, connect with her. It's highrisetourism.com. And we can get you direction to her place, whether it's on Facebook or email as well. But we just want to say thank you for supporting us, Suzanne, and we absolutely support what you're doing and following your visionary chakra archetype.
Correct.
Which I'll jump into. I would love to have you share now the big job of the heart.
Well, the heart, yes. I named it the Peacemaker because, you imagine you've got two countries that hate each other.
We can.
Right? They are completely diametrically opposed to each other, and they just keep fighting endlessly, right? Because you can't wipe, it's not like one can conquer the other. In our world, yes, some country could eventually completely conquer another country, and maybe even wipe out, all vestiges of what was left. But you can't do that in you. You can't get rid of that which is actually an aspect of yourself. So the war between the tribe and the nymph is stabilized by the storyteller, but not reconciled, not resolved. It's a tenuous truce that is functional, but you'll never be free because this back and forth is going on constantly, right?
Right.
And what you really want is all of that harmonized to the point where it's supporting your vision and supporting your transformation, supporting your higher aspirations, rather than all the energy going into just maintaining a truce, right? All the border guards and all that kind of stuff that has to happen. So what has to happen is the emergence of a peacemaker. Something has to bring peace to this. An actual reconciliation so that you can live together in harmony. Now, the storyteller can't do that. It's a mediator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he just comes up with a story, right? We're all going to go along with this story. The peacemaker doesn't need a story because it's pure love. It's that aspect of yourself that is simply altruistic, that knows the joy of giving without asking anything in return, which feels empathy, which can actually feel the impact of your actions on another. Right? And if you look around, you see that's one of the biggest things lacking in our world. It can't do that.
Right? And that's the thing, that it's not like we need to activate the pacemaker. We need to sink into it. How do we knock on that door?
Well, to recognize that this is really what you're trying to get to. We're naturally gravitating towards harmony. I mean, God, we don't want to be at war all the time. We don't want to be in a tenuous relationship where there's guards everywhere all the time, and having to build yet another nuclear arsenal. This is no way to live, right? And we know that. We can feel it, right? And, Christ said it, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." So the peacemaker is this opening inside of us that seeks more than just a tenuous, resolution of things for functional purposes.
Right.
It knows there's something more. And so it is the first opening towards consciousness. It represents the crossover point between the instinctual and the transcendent, but it's deeply human. This is not, something abstract, right? It is very earthy, and there's a reason why it's dead center in the entire thing. And it's interesting that symbolically, Christ on the cross.
I was just picturing that.
Well, that's exactly what it is. That's what it represents. The cross represents this intersection. It represents the intersection between the past and the present and heaven and earth. And that intersection is the human being. And Christ on the cross is an interesting use of that, because the cross was around a lot longer before he was. It came adapted, because it's not even sure if it was actually a cross that was the torture device used. It might have been something else. But the way he's been represented on it is that his chest is actually at the intersection in the cross.
Yes.
Where the real instrument, they'd been hanging down below it. Right? So he's always represented. And this is the metaphor, the archetype of the king. The king represented the center of the quartering of the universe into the active and passive principles. And so the king represented the harmonious center, and that was the realm, this intersection of heaven and earth and all that sort of. And I could go on this forever.
We'll do another show just on the pace.
But this is it. This is the crossover point to the transcendent. This is what the snake going up, Kundalini rising is actually the snake consciousness extricating itself from the purely instinctual and beginning to emerge into the transcendent, or the rising from heaven to earth, or from earth to heaven.
This is a bit this one. I know we won't be able to finish all of them, but that's almost okay, because not stopping, but at the heart here, because I know how much you want the throat one is important, but the heart, we really do need to be in that open, recognize that we're searching from that opening, whereas it's more than functioning in this world.
Well, true enlightenment it involves the heart. It often starts in the head, but if it doesn't move south, it remains an intellectual pursuit. True awakening is an awakening at the heart, where life is felt, and not just thought about. It's not an interpretation of things. It is a direct connection to what is reflected. It is the intersection between the essential and the appearance, as you were talking about, asking about non-duality. That intersect point is what we call the heart. And when you're talking about the heart, the spiritual heart, metaphorically, the heart represents the center, right? The essence of everything. When you talk, what's the heart of the matter, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's what it means. This is what we're talking about, the utter heart of the whole thing. And to try to get to the transcendent without going through the heart, it still leaves you splintered. And you'll see that. You'll see people that are trying to be spiritual.
Yes, absolutely. God, all of this is just, I just know that the listeners are feeling like this is something. So I have a couple invitations for you guys, because I'm so glad that maybe we'll do it in two parts. Maybe we will continue this next week. We'll ask you guys. So let us know, because we do have, you can email us at questions with an S. Oh gosh, I always get this right now. Questions at gpwalsh.com. That makes it easy. And then to join us in this exploration of the archetypes of consciousness, the chakras, then go on over to gpwalsh.com /chakras. Super easy. We love that. And that way you'll get to do it. It only takes 90 minutes. And I'll tell you that, you guys, this will go by fast. I started and it was like, I couldn't stop doing it. Listening more and more, my cup of tea turned into 2 cups of tea. So a couple invitations there, but GP, when people, if they're having this big aha moment in here right now, and they're feeling kind of, oh my gosh, but I do like the colors and they do affect me and everything. They can hang on to that. They can still.
Yeah, of course, it's not. If it's really spirituality, it's not a bunch of rules, for crying out loud. You got to do this. You got to wear these funny clothes, and you got to stand on your head and chant Om for 3 hours. I mean, please.
Right.
I've never been able to get in a lotus position. I'll never be able to get in a lotus position. If that's what's required, I'm screwed.
Right, you're out.
This body just does not do that, right? What I wanted to do is just give a model. This is about understanding your own life. And it's a useful model for giving some meaning to our inner conflict, seeing where it's arising from, and finding a way of reconciling with it so that you can enjoy more peace and freedom. That's what it's all about. I'm not here to make philosophies and have you believe something. Good God, don't believe me.
Believe the truth.
Take it off for checking.
Yes. Well, what I beautifully got from today, just if I can narrow it down to two, my goodness, was explore where your conflicts are. And I love this one. I'm going to bring it back to everybody. Imagine your vision to its fullness. To its fullness. And that's what we are inviting you to do. And we hope that you join us next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern on another episode of The Flow of Enlightenment with GP Walsh, myself, Lisa Berry. And please come on over to GP's website. We've got lots of goodies over there and light letters to be signed up to and questions to be asked for our next show. So, GP, thank you as always for sharing this.
And got all sorts of new stuff coming too.
Yes, we so do. Oh my gosh. It's an exciting, our vision. We are totally imagining it to its fullness.
Yes, we are. Which means we're bound to make some of it happen.
That's right. We'll keep throwing it at the wall until it sticks.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
All right, everybody. Have a lovely week. Thank you so much, GP. We'll see you guys soon.